Hey guys, Breezy CPA here, your certified public accountant, back with another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how much it's going to cost you to get your CPA license in 2025 and going forward into 2026. So, what you're going to need to keep in mind when it comes to these costs is that they are going to vary by jurisdiction. So, these costs are going to vary by whatever state you are taking your CPA exam license in. You're going to need to go to your individual state board of accountancy websites and check these figures to see the exact figures for the exams when you are budgeting to take these exams. Because, like I said, they vary by state. And now, with the new 120-hour pathways versus the old 150-hour pathways, we have over 20 states that have implemented this new pathway. They're also changing the fees that are associated with the exams and sitting for the exams. So you're going to need to go to your state board of accountancy website to verify these figures and see what it's going to cost you in your individual state. So getting into this, how much does the CPA exam cost? So CPA exam costs can vary depending on your jurisdiction. Like I said, check out your state requirements page to find out your state's specific CPA exam fees and requirements, or visit your state board of accountancy website. The figures that we have here are going to be estimated costs of what you can expect for 2025 going into 2026 if you want to sit for the CPA exam. So starting out here, we have the education evaluation application fees. This is where they are going to evaluate and see whether you have the courses and credits necessary in order to sit for the CPA exam. Like I said, there's the 120 credit hour rule versus the 150 credit hour rule that a lot of states are implementing now. So they're going to verify that you have the courses and the credits necessary to sit for the exam. This is going to cost you between $90 to $150 approximately, again, depending on your jurisdiction. You have the exam application fees. So this is going to be the cost of sitting for your actual exam. And this, again, this varies by state. So you can expect to pay anywhere between $300 to sit for these exams in your individual state, and you need to pass 4 exams, right? For in order to pass to get your CPA license. So we have the 3 core exams: FAR, Reg, and audit, and then we have the 3 discipline exam sections: ISC, bar, and TCP. And you're going to need to pass the 3 core sections plus one of the disciplinary exam sections in order to get your CPA license. So that is going to cost you between $1,100 to $1,500 approximately. So that's going to be, $300-400 times 4. Now, this is all assuming that you pass your exams on the first try, which is not something that the majority of students do. Remember that the CPA exam has one of the lowest passing rates among professional examinations, somewhere around 50%, and lower for a lot of these exams. So when you're budgeting for these exams, don't assume that you are going to be passing all these exams on the first go, because that's not the case for the majority of students that take these exams. So when you're looking at these figures, factor in the possibility that you may need to retake 1 or 2 of these exams when you're looking at your budget. You have the CPA exam retake fee. If you want to retake the exam, it's going to be between $50 and $200 depending on your jurisdiction. So that's going to be every time you want to retake your exam, it's going to be another $50 to $200 depending on your jurisdiction, plus the exam application fee. So this adds up quickly here. Next, we have the CPA review course that you're going to be using. There are a multitude of CPA review courses that you can find now, and these can vary in price between $1,000 to $4,000. On the higher end, you have your big corporate accounting courses like Wiley, Becker, UWorld, and you have other courses on the lower end. such as breezycpa.com, which is one of the more affordable courses that you can find right now in order to help you pass the CPA exam. Make sure to visit breezycpa.com to check out our courses, and that is going to cost you a fraction of the price of these big courses that can be upwards of $4,000 in order to get the study materials necessary to pass the exam. This is going to be a total of $2,240 to $5,850, assuming that you are passing these exams on the first go. If you don't pass the exam on the first go, the number is going to go up. So make sure that you, when you're studying, pressure of the exam is not only passing the exam, but it's also knowing the fact that if you don't pass the exam, it's going to cost you another $400 to take it again. So that adds to the stress of sitting for the CPA exam for sure. It's not just knowing the material, but it's the stress of having that financial burden of having to repay these exam fees. CPA exam application fee. Currently, there are no registration or initial application fees for the CPA exam. All candidates need to pay a certain amount for the education evaluation application. The purpose of the education evaluation application is to check to see if you are eligible for the CPA exam. The fee varies state by state. However, it ranges between that $90 to $150 mark. The CPA exam section application fees. Most states use the CPA exam fee schedule set by the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy. The total CPA exam cost for all four parts of the CPA exam is going to be between $1,100 and $1,500 approximately. A breakdown of how much each of these parts of the CPA costs is here below. So this is going to vary by state. Again, this is going to be an average here. Some states are going to be $400. Some states are going to be $300. Other states, I think, as low as $275. So this is really going to vary by state, but basically we have auditing here, FAR, REG, and BAR, ISC, and TCP, and they're going to average around $344 to sit for each one of these exams, okay? Next, we have the CPA exam review course costs, and these are going to be between $1,000 to $4,000. This is a big expense when it comes to taking the CPA exam. That's why at breezycpa.com, we try and offer the most affordable course on the market in order to help you pass the CPA exam so that you don't have to incur these massive costs with the other big companies that offer these CPA review courses. CPA exam review courses cost an average of $1,000 to $4,000. A CPA course should provide everything you need to pass the CPA exam, including a large bank of practice questions, which we have at breezycpa.com, with thorough answer explanations, practice test software that mirrors the exam experience, engaging lectures, data-driven study goals. Studying with a CPA course statistically improves your chances of passing the CPA exam. One of the most unexpected expenses of the CPA exam process is having to retake an exam part and incur the CPA exam retake fees. This is why selecting the right CPA review course is so important. So you really want to take the time to look at different CPA review courses, find one that works for you, do some research, see what you can afford. If you are working for a company that's going to be paying for your CPA exam review course, you may want to go with the one that is $4,000 to $5,000 and get all of the bells and whistles and study material that you can get from those big box courses. On the other hand, if you are more budgetarily concerned and you don't have that much money to spend on these big CPA review courses, you can take an option like breezycpa.com, where we try and offer all of the resources necessary to help you pass the CPA exam without these giant costs of these other major CPA review courses. So make sure to check out breezycpa.com and use promo code breezy20. You'll get an extra 20% off an already very affordable CPA review course to help you pass your exams. Next, we have the CPA exam rescheduling fee. So this is going to come into play if you're going to need to reschedule your exam for one reason or another. And this is going to be varying based on the number of days notice that you can give for the rescheduling. So remember that you will not be able to reschedule your exam if it is under 24 hours before your exam time. So if it's 24 hours before your exam, and you're not able to make it to the test center for whatever reason, you will lose that fee and you will not be able to reschedule. You will need to register again with your state board of accountancy. In other cases, if you reschedule the CPA exam at least 30 days in advance, there is no fee associated with the rescheduling. So if you know a month in advance that you're not going to be able to make it to the exam, you can reschedule without any fee for that rescheduling. Between 5 and 30 days, you will have to pay a rescheduling fee of $35 to Prometric testing centers. And within 5 days of your current exam date, you will need to pay the Prometric testing center the full amount of the CPA exam section that you are rescheduling. So make sure you take this into consideration when you are scheduling your exams. Make sure you don't have anything important going on during that time so that you don't need to run into the situation where you're going to need to reschedule your exam. Unless it's out of your control. CPA exam retake fees. This is going to vary between $50 and $200. So for all re-examination candidates, instead of paying the application fee, they are required to pay both the reapplication fee and the examination fee when they register to retake any parts of the CPA exam. This is sometimes also called the registration fee. Some states will offer discounts on CPA exam retake fees if the candidate is retaking 2 or more exams. So for each exam, you are going to need to pay this retake fee in order to sit for that exam. Next, we have international CPA exam fees. Now, for international candidates, these fees are going to also be different depending on what jurisdiction you are going to be taking your exam in. Basically, $390 per CPA exam section. International CPA candidates will need to pay the domestic testing fees and additional fees for each section of the CPA exam that is taken internationally. So those fees are right around $390. But these do change, on a regular basis. So you're going to need to check to make sure that these fees are accurate for the exams that you are taking. CPA exam cancellation fees and refunds. Unfortunately, CPA exam fees are not refundable if your notice to schedule expires or you do not show up for your scheduled exam. So you cannot get a refund if your NTS expires or you don't show up for your exam. There is no cancellation fee if you cancel the exam at least 30 days in advance. If you cancel the exam again between 5 and 30 days, you'll have to pay the $35. However, there are some exceptions to the policy for candidates with extenuating circumstances, which include visa rejections, military deployment, medical emergencies, deaths, things like that. So next, we have the CPA exam approximate total cost here. So what is going to be the approximate total cost? The CPA designation is one of the most widely recognized credentials in the world, and for good reason. The total cost of the CPA exam is going to range between $2,240 and $5,850. Now, again, this is, basically assuming almost best case scenario here. If you're going to be passing all 4 exams on the first go, especially if you're taking one of the expensive CPA review courses. This takes into account the application, examination, re-examination, and review course fees. Even though the total cost initially appears to be high, it'll be worth every penny. So, the CPA exam designation is recognized worldwide, and it does hold a considerable amount of value, much more than these figures here, 2,240 and 5,580. Your CPA designation is going to definitely pay for itself. But consider it an investment in yourself, knowing that CPAs typically earn up to 15% more over the course of their careers than non-CPAs. So I've definitely experienced this. Before I had my CPA, my salary was lower than after I got my CPA. So you can expect your salary to go up once you receive your CPA license, and that salary is only going to go up, and the CPA license is only going to get more valuable in the future, seeing as we have an aging CPA workforce and there is a shortage of accountants. So, the CPA designation, this between $2,240 and $5,850. It's a worthwhile investment in your future if you want to get your CPA license. You have your CPA licensing fees. Once you have passed the exams, there are a few more requirements that you need to obtain a CPA license. You have to pass your ethics exam. A lot of people don't know this, but once you pass your 4 CPA exam sections, then you have to pay another fee, right? Hey, let's take more of your money. CPA exam, ethics exam. So this is going to vary again by jurisdiction, and it's going to be between $150 and $250 to take your ethics exam. Some states require passing an ethics exam, and most state boards accept the AICPA's comprehensive ethics course and exam. The exam can generally be taken before, during, or after the CPA exam, and the test results are valid for a 2-year period. So I recommend that you take this after you've passed all your exams. CPA ethics exam fee can be anywhere between $150 and $200 depending on your individual state. Next, we have CPA licensing fees. So once you have passed the CPA exam and taken the ethics exam, if it's required in your jurisdiction, it is time to apply for your CPA license, where you get your nice certificate that you can put on your wall, right? Your state likely has an online application process. They may require you to submit documentation, such as a signed statement from your supervisor or licensed CPA that can attest to your work or additional educational or exam records. You may have to complete an in-person interview with the board. I didn't have to do that. CPA licensing fee from $100 to $500 depending on the state. Next, we have CPE costs, and these are going to be your continuing professional education costs, and these can vary between 0 or 300. You don't necessarily have to take these, but after you get your CPA license, most states require a CPA to complete continuing professional education, your CPE credit hours, in order to maintain your CPA license. This is how they squeak out money out of you every year, from the AICPA in particular. Be sure to check with your state board of accountancy to find out how many hours are required each year to maintain your credential. This is going to vary by state and jurisdiction. So this is basically a breakdown of how much you should expect to spend in order to get your CPA license in 2025 going into 2026. What I want to take a look at now is we're going to take a look at the North Carolina State Board of Accountancy and their fees page here, because they recently passed the new 120-hour licensure pathway, and they updated their fees. So we can take a look directly at their website here and see what fees they're charging for the exams. So here we have the administrative fee for the initial application. This is where they're going to verify that you have all the credits necessary and classes and courses necessary to sit for the exam, $230. We have the administrative fee for re-exam application. If you want to retake your exam, remember we said that was between $50 and $200. In North Carolina here, they're charging $75 for that. And then we have the individual exam section fees here, which is going to be in North Carolina on the lower end for sure, $265.57 in order to sit for each of those individual exams. And then once you have passed all your exams here in North Carolina, then you can apply for the original North Carolina CPA license. That's going to be $100. You have application for reciprocal North Carolina license. That'll be $100. If you want to transfer an exam credit for sections passed in another jurisdiction, that's going to be $75. So you can see that, the prices vary, and depending generally on the size of the state is the price is going to go up for the larger states as opposed to the smaller states. So if you're in like a California, a Florida, a New York, those are probably going to be on the higher end as opposed to something maybe like North Carolina or Virginia. But make sure to check with your individual state boards of accountancy in order to get the actual figures, and make sure you do a budget. I mean, you're an accountant, right? Make sure you sit down, you budget for all of these things. You know how much it's going to cost you. Make sure that you have the money to take these exams. There's nothing worse than not having the money in your bank account when you're trying to pass these exams, and having that added stress of sitting for the exam, trying to study for the exam, and also having financial stress on top of that because you didn't budget out how much it's going to cost you to sit for these exams. So make sure you do that before you sit for these exams. You have that money put aside so that financial stress isn't as big when you're trying to focus on understanding and retaining the information and material when you're studying for these exams. It'll be much easier for you and more helpful than having that added stress during the exam sessions. So let's take a look at some of the comments from individuals who are studying for the exams now and taking their exams, so we can see what these fees are like for them, and even some international students. Let's see what they have to say. So taking a look at some comments here from students regarding CPA exam fees, literally just paid $358 to sit for audit. This was a while ago here. When did it get so expensive? This is ridiculous. Same, there's a shortage of CPAs, but there's an increased cost to taking the exam. Great idea. Am I right? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They're trying to get more accountants into the profession, but these exam fees seem to be going up. Make sure you check with your boards of accountancy to see what the exam fees are for your particular state. The $75 application fee is ridiculous. $75 for a person to take a form, input some numbers, and click a couple buttons for a total of 5 minutes before shredding the paper. Legitimately, it should cost between $10 to $15 or even zero, considering the exam costs. And I agree. I mean, they're just trying to suck money out of you in any direction possible here. $325 for an exam is high, but I can at least see that it goes to the Prometrics Center running pretty smoothly and paying for all the security stuff that they have there. I hate that they raised the price, but it's also inflation being what it is. So yeah, the Prometric test centers do have to make sure that their systems are up to date and they have the proper security measures for these exams. So some of these fees go towards that. Inflation over 5 years doesn't account for nearly 50% increase in these exam fees. That's not inflation, that's just greed. So for sure, there's not much we can do about it. These are the fees that they give us, and this is what you have to pay to get your CPA exam. I've been paying $385 in Wisconsin. Can't take these application fees rising anymore. Same. I was trying to pay for both EEC and audit, and it isn't allowing me to apply for both at the same time and get one NTS. So before, you used to be able to schedule multiple exams on the same notice to schedule. Now they're making you pay for individual NTSs for each exam in order to get more money out of you, unfortunately. So unfortunately, the AICPA is a business, and like any other, they are in the business of making money, and you're this far. It's worth to power through. Try to be optimistic. Keep in mind, many people prefer having a CPA license over an MBA or a master's degree, and compared to those, passing the CPA exam can be cheaper and less time, even though it may not seem like it. That being said, these prices are getting to be out of control. So that's definitely the case. The CPA license, compared to getting your MBA or master's degree, is significantly lower. As we mentioned, between $2,500 to $5,000 to $6,000 to get your CPA license, versus some of these MBA courses or accreditations. They can be $50,000, $100,000 for some CPA, for some master's degree courses. So when it comes to getting your CPA versus a master's degree, you're going to come out cheaper getting your CPA license for sure. $344.80 for me to apply for BCNTS in Florida. Insane. I'm confused about the application process and the lack of transparency on fees. I got my NTS 20 minutes later. Looking here, we as international candidates have to pay $790 per section. Please, guys, think of us. This is nothing but 2 months salary for somebody and 1.5 months salary for somebody. So some of these people are paying, a month, 2 months worth of their salaries in order to sit for the exam. So you can imagine the added pressure, knowing that you have that much money on the line, uh, sitting for these exams while you're in that test center taking the exam, knowing how much it costs you. We have to make sure that we need to clear the exam every time we make the payment for a section. It's painful and brain draining feeling. That's the reason here international candidates initially enroll in CPA courses enthusiastically with the hope to clear the exam on the first go. If anything happens against the expected result, people slowly tend to avoid um, taking the exam again. With this result, the AICPA has gotten enormous amounts of money from the initial registration cost itself. So this is a deterrent for a lot of international students, these extremely high costs of taking the exam. And people get into it, they don't realize how much it's going to cost. That's why I encourage all my students to, as accountants, make sure you budget out the costs of how much it's going to cost you to sit for these exams. Make sure that you have the funds necessary to cover your exam costs. The worst thing is sitting for an exam and knowing that you are financially stressed, on top of needing to learn and retain all of this information. That's enough on its own. When you have the added stress of the financial burden on you, knowing that you may not have the funds to retake one of these exams if necessary, that just compounds the stress on you. So make sure that you budget out everything before you decide to take your exams. Make sure you schedule accordingly so that you have the finances ready to pay for your exams. And in the case that you may need to reschedule or things like that, make sure you do it in a timely fashion so that you don't incur any extra unnecessary costs. For me, the international administration fee alone is $390 for each section. Every test I take costs $809, which is brutal. I mean, $809. Imagine having to pay $809 to take an exam, with the pressure of knowing that you might have to pay that again if you don't pass the first time. I hate the price increase. When I paid for BCNTS, it was usually around $238 before the NASBA updated their website. Now it's $254 in California. This is more costly, especially if you are constantly retaking a section, which we know is the case for a lot of CPA exam students. The pass rate is right around 50%, if not lower, most years. So the likelihood that you'll have to retake some of these exams is pretty high. So make sure you factor that in to your budget when you are deciding to take your exams. Here we have somebody from New York, $238.50, March 2023. As I am from a developing country, it's even worse. Um, as an international student, I pay about $750, which is 84% of my salary. So this person's paying 84% of their monthly salary in order to take a CPA exam. You can only imagine the pressure of sitting down at that computer and taking these tests, knowing that it's costing you 84% of your salary to take that exam, and knowing that you need to pass it, otherwise it's going to cost you another $750. Let me know in the comments down below what the rates are currently and the fees are currently for your individual states. I think it'll help out other students who are planning on sitting for the CPA exam. If we can get a breakdown of what the costs are for your individual state. It's difficult with the changing climate right now with the CPA exam to keep track of all of the individual states and the fees that they are charging. But leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're paying in your individual state to take these exams, as well as the international candidates, what you guys are paying to take these exams. And I will try to stay up to date as best as I can on these exam fees and update you when it comes to any major changes to these exam fees, so that you can prepare yourself accordingly when you are sitting or planning to sit for the CPA exam. Again, if you want a very affordable, comprehensive study course, make sure to visit breezycpa.com. We created breezycpa.com to help students, provide them with an affordable course so that you don't have to pay exorbitant amounts of money for your CPA license. It's a comprehensive course that covers all areas of the CPA exam at a very affordable rate, including, study guides, cram courses, lecture videos, test banks, so on and so forth, everything you need in order to help you pass the CPA exam. And make sure to use promo code Breezy20 to get 20% off your order at checkout. It is one of the more affordable, if not the most affordable, CPA review course on the market. And that is our goal, to make this accessible for everybody so that they can pass the CPA exam without incurring these huge financial expenses in order to get their CPA license. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, or if you want to stay up to date on current CPA news, accounting news, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you to all the new subscribers. And thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.